we are reading and learning about Karachi, Karachi is something more than that. We need to learn that. And in this path, on this way, Ms. Nusrat Khawaja will lead us with her panelist, and she'll be introducing her panelist very soon. But, stage is yours. Okay.
Thank you so much. Everybody, welcome. And I'll give a very quick introduction to our speakers who are very well known. Maniza Shamsie, who is a writer on writers, has created some fantastic anthologies, including her latest one, which is in the New Century. And then we have Zain Saeed, who is a novelist, and he has come down from the Atlas Mountains in Morocco to sea level in Karachi. Is that good enough, Zain? Yeah, and so can I. And then we have Maniza Naqvi, who has honored Karachi with all her concerns and her love, and I don't think Karachi can find many daughters better than Maniza to have adopted. So, yeah, really. Karachi, between the lines, I think all of us here are stakeholders in Karachi. And I was thinking of that Sufi parable about the elephant in the room with blind men, and each one only identifying a part of it. I think with Karachi, we all know what the elephant is, but the parts are very difficult for us to identify. And I think the parts, when you add them up, they certainly are much larger than the whole. So let's try and identify some of those through literature and through the perception of people who are creating literature, namely Maniza, Zain, and Maniza. I think, Maniza Naqvi, I think I'd start with you because you have selected a few passages to take us into the atmosphere of Karachi. Right. So may I ask you to just read those passages?
I will do that. As many of you here, or some of you here know that 10 years ago I got involved with Pioneer Book House, which is the second oldest book house in Karachi. And then one of the things I did to keep the bookshop going was to write a book about my time at Pioneer Book House. And the book is called A Guest in the House, to constantly remind myself and everybody else that I was only a guest there and I did not own it. I came to help, but I was not going to take over. So my book, A Guest in the House, which used to be available at Pioneer Book House and probably still is, starts with a chapter called The Bazaar is Karachi. The bazaar is Karachi. It is this, a steadily heightening, swirling, frenetic energy. It is this, a theater of risk-taking which follows the calls of hope, timed to the arc of the sun, peaking in its fading light by night, disappearing behind shutters, swallowed up by empty lanes lying silent and desolate. Then, it is this all over again the next day, morphing back into the cacophony and crescendo of movement and labor, becoming the incoming rising high tide of waves upon waves of thousands upon thousands of moving parts, all seemingly in motion in thousands of intricate and overwhelming directions, cramming and crowding every inch of air and space with din and dew. Yes, it is this, a miraculous city. And I am in the heart of it, Pioneer Book House, where I sit bookended by a lighthouse at one end of the road, where the harbor remains a source of wealth and woes, and a mausoleum on the other. Perhaps once upon a time, Dibel or Alexander's haven in a Greek's imagination, or Karkula or Kolachi Jokun or Karachi, and so on. And now, Karachi for sure, and a fact. At the very end of this road, in the midpoint, I sit. This city's, at the At the very end of this road, in whose midpoint I sit, this city's histories begin. At its southern tip, the harbor, the cause of sanctuary, succor, and invasion, and on its north, a mausoleum which in shape and line articulates masjid, mandir, mazar, shrine, temple, mosque, and more. And from these 2 points of causes and effects, rising and swirling and radiating and pushing outwards and creating the reams of stories that by day and by night shift and weave and whirl and sachet, is Karachi. Stories of transactions that follow the arc of the sun, that involve the taking of risk, the betting on it, hedging against it, the leveraging of it, the margins to be made on it, the give and take of it, the quarrels and kills, the additions and divisions and partitions, and always the need, the insatiable need for refugee migrations and return. And I seem to have catapulted myself, no, vaulted myself right into the heart of it. Around the corner from where I sit is a park called Aram Bagh. If I walk 200 steps from there, no more, I reach Pioneer Book House's front door. The park is located behind Pioneer Book House and is between Old Frere Road and Ratan Talao Road. This entire area is known as Aram Bagh. Each step taken here should be considered sacred, reverential, step by step, if you believe in such things. Why? Because the sacred have walked here, and by the looks of it, they still might be passing by here, and I'm sure they still do. Legend has it that Lord Rama and Sita came to rest here for a night on their way to Hinglaj Mandir, off the coast of Makran in Balochistan, just across the hills, past Liari, past Chakiwara, past Mango Pir, right there. But right here where I sit, just around the corner, centuries after the illustrious visit, this locality came to be known as Rambagh. The communities that came to live here over centuries shared in each other's myths, beliefs, festivals, traditions, and still do. Exactly 200 steps from Pioneer Book House. 200 steps, I count them. And as I walk, counting and concentrating, 2 young boys run past me, brush past me, narrowly miss bumping into me, and spoil my careful count. The other kids working in the lane are from Liari and from further away in Swat and Bajor, and come here seasonally to work. They look on, grinning, and I narrowly escape collision with them. Be careful, Amma, Auntie, Appa, Madam. I'm called out to in all these different ways. Madam rankles and makes me giggle. People and places are transformed here. Arambagh after partition, after partition, the names of many places were changed, but this one, given the nature of the communities that live here, has merely accommodated and adjusted to suit everyone, much like sugar in milk or a chambeli blossom floating on a full bowl of water. And so it is
Maniza?
called Arambagh.
Thank
for
you.
Ram.
That's beautiful. So that takes us into an older part of Karachi. It's like a pre-partition part of Karachi. I'd like to ask you, Zain, because you're the author of 2 novels and you're also teaching in Morocco at Al Akhwain University. What is the lure of Karachi for a storyteller?
Oh, goodness. I think the thing with Karachi is that it is a place that is, for me, an active participant in the lives of everyone here. You cannot do anything in any given day without taking the city into consideration. So you spoke of Morocco. I moved to a town that now has less than 10,000 people, I think 5,000 people. From a city of what, 29 million, 26 million, 24 million, I don't know.
Who knows?
Karachi, who knows?
Yeah,
Who
goes
knows
up every
exactly?
day.
Who knows? So moving there, because I've lived in other small towns too, but this was the smallest one I've ever lived in, Ifran, where I now live. I feel like I don't really interact. I don't need to interact with the city as much. There is water, there is food, there is electricity at all times, there is no traffic. I know exactly when I'm going to get to university every morning. It's not like when I was at Habib where I was like, I don't know whether I'm going to get there in 24 minutes or 36 minutes or 38 minutes. So the city was always in Karachi. Like when I was here, the city was always a big, big part of my day. So as a storyteller, someone who's trying to write a story, it was obvious that that was all I was thinking about all the time. We just came, me and my friend Ryan, we both teach in Morocco at Al Khawain. And I think an hour after we landed, both of us were just talking about this. We're like, I feel like writing. And we were trying to figure out why we felt like writing. And it was just this stimulus that we don't have at Al Khawain where we are, where, everything's calm and peaceful, nothing's happening. But an hour after landing here, it was like, oh, kujli ho gayi. It was a very strange feeling. I was like, I have to do something.
Yeah, I think it's the unpredictability of Karachi. I mean, Maniza, you've written it's a transactional city also, and it definitely is. But I think that unpredictability keeps us all on edge. And maybe from that chaos, there's some creativity that comes through.
Yeah, it's just an active participant in my life. Karachi is an active participant.
Okay.
Other cities that I've lived in, I found aren't as actively participating in my life as Karachi is. So I have to write about it.
So it's good for creatives.
It's good, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't live here anymore, so no books for a while.
But you can always visit. Maniza, you've written this fantastic anthology.
Well, I haven't written it.
Well, you've compiled it. I'm so sorry. Yes. You've compiled the anthology, but you have writers from all over Pakistan. So, and from abroad as well, from the diaspora, Pakistani diaspora. So, did you notice anything different? Were you looking out for specifics about Karachi when you were selecting for Karachi?
No. I didn't look out for specifics. Hello, can you hear me? I didn't look out for specific regions. It's very difficult when you're doing it, you sort of get into it. I just picked out stories or poems or whatever that I felt were either representative of the poet or writer, or which stood out. And I didn't really look at them in sense of space or place. I looked at the quality of the writing, what it was saying, what it told you about the author. And this is actually a follow-up to my first anthology, Dragonfly and the Sun, which was done in 1997, and that was from 1947. So these are stories, poems, life writing from 1997 to 2017. That's the period it covers. And so I basically tried to look out for work that conveyed the best or conveyed a particular aspect of the writer.
And since we're trying to build a portrait of Karachi between the lines through literature, I would like you to read Tawfiq Rafat's poem from Karachi 79, because it talks about something very important, and it also shows you how prescient people who write can be. So would you please read that, Maniza?
Tawfiq Rafat, as you all know, lived in Lahore, but he was visited Karachi, obviously. And well, this doesn't tell. It's a poem that I've always liked a lot from the time I first read it. It's called Karachi 79. A strange love affair between this city and me. I can't stand it for more than a few days at a time. Yet every 10 years or so, it extracts its poem. Taller and taller its buildings are getting, and its citizens smaller and smaller, and the blotches of greenery spreading like a rash. This year, I brought my weather with me, rain and plenty of it. My relatives here have had to be evacuated by a naval boat. When they planned this city, they forgot the sewers, or it was never planned. House was added to house, and street to street, till it got out of hand. Well, here it is, and here am I, circling each other again. The question is, which going to get to spit first in the other's eye?
It's beautiful. Thank you. And now we can see this phenomenon of land, small parcels of land being transformed into high rises. I mean, when you look at Clifton, and land has really become something, I think it has engendered a lot of violence as well. We can see that with what happened to Parveen Rahman. In fact, in your anthology, there is an essay by Parveen's sister, Aqila Ismail, and she has imagined Parveen's last day when she gets shot. So I think before we move into a further conversation, can we read that as well?
Well, I've selected a short passage. This is, it works in two ways. The first section of this story is a sort of creative fiction. She's made a story out of what happened to her sister. So the first half is her imagining it, the writer imagining, she did this. And then it sort of moves on to actually the last day when she's with her mother and leaves his house. So I'm actually reading from the first half where she imagines what happened, what Parveen was thinking, what it was like. Well, I'm going to begin with, she's being driven from her office back home. And this is an episode that she captures here. Directly in front were the Mango Pir Hills that bound Karachi to the west. This was a city to which Parveen had come to as a teenager in 1972, thrown out from East Pakistan, the land of her birth, when the Great Partition was undone and Bangladesh emerged from its ashes. On the hills, the houses rooted in granite rose up upon steep slopes, an avalanche of houses heaped indiscriminately together, woven by years of forced migration to the city, which provided refuge to those cast out from within and outside the country. The colors in the haphazard buildings out of sight of the sun gradually took on their gray tones. There was something cold about that diversity of gray. A mild unease slumbered in the streets, as if it infiltrated by grief. Then, perhaps, she leaned back on the seat and closed her eyes. She was tired. The day had been long. The car passed along the brick-colored flyover constructed during the tenure of the last Urdu-speaking mayor to allow residents to enter Orangi, bypassing the area held by the Pashtuns. The pillars and sides of the flyover were filled with graffiti and posters declaring the candidature of one or the other of the ANP, which had won seats in the last election held in 2008, but was now overtaken by the Pakistani Taliban, who, after being ousted from Swat in the north, had come to Karachi and settled in the areas of Karachi dominated by Pashtuns. The red and black flags of this party by listless, all along the route. Perhaps she had contemplated the deserted streets, a street that was full of people and yet deserted. Perhaps she felt the car slowing down to go over the bumps. Perhaps she saw the man pillion riding a motorcycle, face hidden by the triangular folded scarf tied in a knot at the back of the head. She saw him take out a pistol, and perhaps she heard the 4 shots and the sound of glass shattering. Perhaps she felt the searing pain in her delicate neck. Perhaps she thought of her mother, her Amma, waiting for her as the spewing blood stained red on her white, delicately embroidered shirt. Did she judge the depth of silence that followed that shot? Perhaps it was as if the earth existed in a vacuum. Then there was no sound, not even of her breathing, or the bearing of her heart, or the beating of her heart. The very sound of consciousness had been stilled. Perhaps, just when the panic ended, she knew in that instant that she had been the target of killers in the streets of the city for which she lived and was now giving her life for. She had been assassinated. And the
Thank you,
story
Maniza.
is set up in there. It's a very
Very, very,
harrowing, it's a very
yes.
harrowing description.
Yes, it is very harrowing. It's also part of Karachi's reality.
Sadly, yes.
Zain, you have portrayed younger people in your novels, right? People coming from different strata of Karachi. So can you talk about that energy and the tension that you've written about? And maybe if you have a passage that you can share with us from your novels?
Like the really professional writer that I am, I have 0 copies of either of my books, as I told you. So I think, I did find something. I found an old draft that I can read from. But as far as writing about being young in Karachi or kind of living in Karachi as a young person is concerned, it's a claustrophobic city at times because you have to find your bubbles, and when you find your bubbles, you're okay. You have to find your people, and that's what, when I was at university, I was in Lahore at university. You found your people and you hung out with them, and those are the only people you saw. And now I'm noticing as I'm growing up that those people now still hang out with each other. Their kids hang out with their kids. So that bubble is a thing that I think continues to function in every Pakistani city. And that was what I really tried to kind of capture in the first book that I wrote, which was Little America, which is about this guy kind of getting so fed up with feeling restricted by the confines of society that he just creates this compound of debauchery at Seaview. And things happen, and one thing leads to another. But that is not the thing I have, that is not the passage I have. It's from the second book, which is called The Year of Sound and Heat. It is about Karachi in 2007, which was not a very good time for Pakistan, let alone for Karachi. This is just a passage which is about this guy. The book's based around this guy called Jogi, who is kind of fed up with being in Karachi, and he just wakes up one day and he doesn't know that it's a strike, so he just drives, and now he's driving, and he feels a little hopeful by the end of it. So I'm just going to read a bit of this. Apologies for using my phone, folks.
No, please don't worry about it.
I'm a horrible packer. Okay. I made a U-turn in the middle of the road and drove the wrong way. My heart was beating, and I wanted to disappear as I swerved around approaching donkeys, my car rattling, thinking I could leave any day, just gather up the money and leave the city. There was little to stay for as it was. But as I descended a flyover and the jugular road of the city opened up before me, I whooped, because the sun was orange and the sky pink. I smiled and put my foot down and almost crashed into the Shell pump, but saved it under a sky so pink, turned up the radio and raced the milkman's motorcycle, whooshed over the magic sun puddles and past the white and gray and dust of the office buildings and the trees on the sidewalk, tipsy and brown, and the bright green and red of the Nokia billboards and the Lipton billboards and the Ufone billboards and bank signs and shiny female models selling hair color and fairness creams and Pepsi and Prince, and the strays and their tongues and the stickers on the cars and the person in the red and the beggar on the ground and the black crows crisscrossing and dive bombing on the poles and the wires and the pothole throb and the engine thrum. And I desperately wanted to tell my city that it was all okay, that it could have everything, that only idiots leave home for an elsewhere, that it was really, really okay, that I would stay. I wanted to say it, but I could not.
Beautiful. Really got that energy and the colors that we all see every day when we're driving in Karachi. So who belongs in the city? Maniza, you've seen the city from Pioneer Book House. You've seen it at the ground level.
I think one of the definitions of any great city, I'm just making this up as I go, the definitions of any great city is that anyone who comes to it belongs to it, right? And people come to cities in search of livelihoods and jobs and mobility to make their lives better. So everyone belongs to Karachi who comes here, whether it's for a day or for longer. And I live in New York, by the way. And I feel that way about New York, that no one assumes that you're not from there. People will stop you for directions because they think they're the only tourist in town and you obviously know where to go. So I think that's a mark of a great city. Everybody belongs. And somewhere in that, I lost my way. Was that your question?
Yes, I think what's really interesting is how there are so many different points of view about Karachi.
Yeah.
As I said, the parts of the elephant, and they're all correct.
Yeah, so
none of them is wrong.
Yeah, and just to continue on that, a part of, I think, a sign of authors, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zain, or you feel differently, but I feel that a novelist doesn't feel like they belong, or that they have this idea, that somehow they're going to be dislocated at every moment, and therefore they have to record every single thing that your passage, Zain, that you read reminded me of a passage many decades ago that I wrote in mass transit, not at all as beautiful as yours, but about going past this and then past that, and this shop and a billboard and a road and just it was my way of listing all the things that I was so afraid I'd forget when I left. And so it's like we're in a way, and we're archivists, right? We're trying to hold on to things that are changing at such a rapid speed. And in Karachi, because of the land issue of land grabbing and buildings being torn down, and you wake up one morning and you hear that, something went up in a ball of flames, or something went down because a builder decided that, well, he had purchased this lovely building, but he doesn't want this to just be a 3-story building. He wants to put up a skyscraper there, and it's gone. And so people like us, we're busy recording what was there before so that we don't forget. And part of that, I think, is our job to record not only roads and the names of roads and the buildings and the neighborhoods, but the people who were here and then either got killed or died. We're just constantly trying to save everybody, and if we can't save them and save them from dying, we can maybe keep them immortal in the form of a book.
I really like that part about you writers being archivists, because there are also people who have left. I know people keep coming in for livelihoods given how large the city is, but there are minorities who have left, reduced greatly from being at one time the people who managed the city. And Maniza, have you read from, say, the Zoroastrian community, or have they been writing about Karachi? Have you
Written about which community?
the Parsi community? Have they been, any of them been writing about Karachi? Have you come across any material from people who are minority communities, and maybe the angst that they feel now in today's Karachi? I know you have.
Well, no, I don't know whether they're. I don't ever usually think of people in terms of minority communities and all that. They've written about Karachi. You'll find it in non-fiction, certainly, very clearly. I mean, we had Adeshwar Kawasji who wrote wonderful books, and we've had. But that's not Karachi. There's a writer in America, Roshni Rustamji Kearns. She also belongs to Karachi. That sense of belonging emerges in her work, though she's also a critic and she's done novelist and most of the and there's a Christian writer called Julian Samuel. He's also got a very strong sense of belonging to Pakistan. He grew up in Lahore. It's not specifically Karachi, but I find that we need to actually, this is one of my criticisms, Pakistani English fiction needs to portray its minority communities with greater clarity, and they, and I think with a sort of wider perspective. I mean, I find it quite irritating that often when they write about the Christian community, they often write about the poor. We know there's nothing wrong about the very poor, and they do have serious problems. But there are also people, when you're well-to-do, we're a well-known family, but you belong to a different faith to everybody else in your group, there are a whole complexity of issues that you have to face. You belong, but you're different. And that is something that a lot more writers need to explore. Omar Shahid Hamid has done a very nice, he has a Christian police officer in the prisoner.
Yes.
And one.
And Muhammad Hanif with Our Lady of Alice Bhatti.
Yes.
He's also done that.
Yes, he has. But so there are one or two people, but actually in terms of people from minority communities, I can't, can you think of any sort of, I mean, specifically about Karachi, I can't. And I've never really, well, maybe I should look at work from that point of view, but I never really have. I've just looked at the structure and the story and what it says. And
in diaspora writing, you have a very strong affinity to Karachi, isn't it, from your diaspora writers who moved away but still remain so energized by Karachi,
Well,
like Zain?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yes. It's where you grow up, but to what you belong. It's this whole, it's not just Karachi, it's a question of identities are much more complex than just being in one single place. You're born in that place, and everybody has the same faith, and da-da-da. It's not like that. And Karachi is wonderful because it has this huge diversity. And of people, we have this plus side and the minus side. And of people, they do accept each other. On the other hand, you have the people who don't. And I think diaspora writers, if they're from Karachi, they will, well, naturally they will write about it, and they will engage with it, and they will recall their experience of it. But I think that's not just true of Karachi. I think that's, I mean, look at Babsi. She was so involved in the whole,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
to take an obvious example. And another example, people quibble with me because I include Hanif Qureshi in my books. And why? Because he was British born and everybody goes after me. But Hanif Qureshi's literary inheritance is from this part of the world. His family were migrants, but they belonged to Karachi. And that experience emerges in his work in different ways. Including his memoir when he first came here and how he felt an outsider, and yet it was so nice to meet this literary family. He has a very strong, and his literary inheritance is from his father's family, which is Umar Qureshi, who lived in Karachi, Maki Qureshi, Abu Qureshi. They were all wrote. So this Karachi influence emerges in different kind of ways. It's necessarily, it's not really geographical. It can be beyond geography, it can be beyond borders, it can be in your imagination, it can be a part of yourself. And Hanif willingly, by the way, gives me his stories. Imtiaz Tharkar,
who's a poet.
She's Lahore, but they all do link themselves to a part of their inheritance, which makes them different to the country to which they belong, but they belong there. They are British.
Yes,
So it's a complexity kind of issue.
Yeah,
really.
I think that's a fantastic point, that identity is extremely complex.
Yes.
And we should not aim to reduce it, because we reduce the texture and richness of who we are. Zain?
And in a place like Karachi, I think there's space for all of it, right? And it is, this reminded me of a conversation, several conversations I had with this Iranian friend of mine who used to teach at Habib too. He used to call it Karachi's. He never said Karachi. He was like, everyone I speak to has a different take on Karachi. Everyone I speak to has a different story about Karachi. What are you talking about? which is also why this idea of us being archivists and trying to tell the story of Karachi, it's ultimately futile. But also why so many books about Karachi come about. Because everyone has a different experience of this monster of a city. And I'm saying monster in like, it's big, it's a great city. I love the city. But yeah, there's so much space for diverse opinions as far as a city like Karachi is concerned. And I used to find this a lot when I was teaching here at Habib, when I was teaching creative writing, because students used to submit their stories, and I used to really, really stress, stop writing about Elizabeth, stop writing about John, somewhere in a place you haven't been, write about someone you know, write from your life. And once they started writing those stories, it was magical. And it was like the kinds of stories that I never thought I would read about Karachi, and stories that I never thought could exist in Karachi.
So you're teaching creative writing in Morocco.
In Morocco, yeah, it's very
And-
different in Morocco.
Okay.
It's a similar conversation with them because they want to write about Jean-Marc and Pierre from France.
Ah, right, yes,
They have a
sure.
different colonial hangover. But yeah, so it's a similar conversation about writing from what you know or writing from what you are. And yeah, so it's a struggle trying to get students in, it was a struggle trying to get students in Karachi and also in Morocco to write about the city. But once they started believing that their own narratives were worthwhile or were worth it, you just saw the kinds of narratives which I would never have imagined in my life reading about Karachi. I was like, that happened? Or like those kinds of things you're familiar with? It's crazy. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, and Maniza, you've started teaching now at Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture, right? Mm-hmm. So, teaching Karachi, it is a Karachi themed course that you're teaching?
I'm teaching a course at the Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture. I'm not an academic, but I designed a course, given my own background in writing and being in development for a very long time. I'm teaching, and then with the experience with Pioneer Book House, I designed a course called Approaching the City Through Literature and Creative Writing. So I'm coming at Karachi and other cities and the issues in Karachi, or the light and the shadows in Karachi through pieces of literature. And then every day, what we do, not every day, but every time there is a class, we do several readings from different pieces of literature and on Karachi, written on Karachi or located in Karachi. And then the students also do creative writing that day based on whatever it is that we came out of that literature that we talked about as issues. So it's a very sort of interactive and organic experience, and it was hard for me to actually explain to the panel as they were deciding whether I should teach this or not, because it was hard for them to decide whether they should allow me to do this, because I kept saying, you'll see, it'll flow, or just let me get started and you'll see that we'll emerge out of this with a lot of creative work done. But they wanted to know exactly what was going to happen in session 1, in session 2, when was the quiz going to happen, when were they going to turn in the response, and so forth and so on. And I kept saying, well, all of that will happen, I'm sure. And now we're about to enter, we're almost, a third through a third of the way through the semester. And it's actually turning out really well. We're getting a lot of creative writing done, a lot of maps are being made, a lot of ideas, and we had the aha moment that I was hoping was going to happen without my having to plant it, and so I'm really pleased, and that's all because of literature and the power of fiction to be able to have people open their eyes and see things differently or to see, to absolutely see. So one of the texts outside of writers from Karachi, writing about Karachi that I'm teaching is obviously Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities. And to sort of, to find beauty, to constantly look at everything and try to focus in on beauty and understand beauty in a different way than it is understood, that it is bigger than just something that's pretty. It is maybe the opposite of pretty. And also, as part of the course, I'm asking them, and we have already done it, and I won't bore you with that, about what it means to be, what is the definition of feminist, and then to evaluate whether Karachi is a feminist city or if it is not, and why that is so. And that there is no right or wrong answer, but to look at that deeply as well. And so that's what we're doing.
So I think Karachi is far too complex to summarize in a short session, but since all of us here are from Karachi, I think I'd like to open it up and have you engage with our writers. Yes, please, Yavar. Mike Lele.
Earlier you mentioned about authors from the minority community writing about Karachi. I can think of one book, a very brief one, by this author called Lynette Wickerji.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
I should
called
have thought of that.
Made in Pakistan.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
it's a wonderful book.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book. It's a very small one.
Yes,
very
I've read
brief,
it, yes.
But it
Thank you for
mentions
that.
neighborhoods of Karachi and
Yes.
Yeah,
And
really
the sense
lovely.
of being here and the sense of belonging, which he asserts so strongly.
And has now left after so many decades of
Well,
being
no,
a
she's,
Karachi.
I mean, no, yes, but she's gone through, she's elderly, she's living with her children. I mean,
Okay.
But I don't think she's left because she wanted to leave Karachi, per se. I think
Right.
she's left because of, well, time passes, alas.
Yes, please.
You know?
My question is more on your thoughts. Who owns Karachi? I mean, we say it's diverse, it gives us space for practicing our backgrounds, our lives openly, being a feminist, being everything. In Karachi, we're open to do that most of the time. But I've always been thinking, who owns Karachi? People come, people earn from here, people extract, they make their lives here, but nobody does much for Karachi, the condition that it is in.
So,
Your thoughts on who owns Karachi?
you're asking me or one of our writers? One of the writers? So,
Yeah,
Yes,
Anyone?
can I take a shot at that? A shot? I disagree that people don't do anything for the city. I think that I think it's a miracle, the city, and I read that to you in the first passage. And part of it is because there's so many people who have done so much for it. For example, we are constantly saying what is not here. But look around you at what is here. In 1947, this city was 400,000 people. 400,000 people, mainly around the Sadr and the Bandar Road axis. That was it. That was, and Malir cantonment. That was it. Mainly functioning for the British, servicing the British troops, and then businesses came out of that. After 1947, the city expanded so fast that within 79 years, or where are we, 80 years, it's grown to about 25 million or 30 million people. Okay? At that time, the geography of Karachi, as I told you, was so small. Now it's, Nazimabad and beyond, buffer zone and so forth, and for whatever, DHA is now at DHA 8. But everybody who came to Orangi, for example, they put a tree in their courtyards because a tree was important. They grew trees. Everybody who's had houses, small or big in this city, have grown gardens. This city has parks and gardens and courtyards full of flowers and plants. In a city that is denied water, even though there is water, it's remarkable that people have made it so green. That's doing a lot. There are children, this city is the most educated place in Pakistan. Despite all the problems, despite everything, 80% of it goes to school. There's 1 million strong home-based industry of women workers who make piece rate garments and the rest of it, buttons and achars and so forth and so on. Every day, most of the women in the city go to work. I think of these things as being marvelous. The fact that this is the 17th year of a literature festival, that's no small feat. The fact that we have so many writers, but now I'm veering off, but the fact that there is so much, so people who owns Karachi, all of us own Karachi. We all own it, and we can't keep on saying it's somebody else's responsibility. Things are our responsibility as well. And a lot of what happens in this city, I look at women as being the stabilizers that make things happen here. They support each other, they make things happen, they raise their voices, they start schools in homes if they have to, they make sure the kids go to school, they make sure water appears in their building or in their houses, they run little libraries, all sorts of things happen in this city. They do art. It's a marvelous city. I live in what is considered the center of the universe, hello, New York, but to me, the most attractive city in the world is Karachi. Obviously, something is happening. Something great is happening, and it's happening by the citizens in the city, right?
Yeah, I think because it is also a very challenging city, so all the effort that people are putting in shows how it means something to enough people that the machinery keeps churning.
And also, look at it. We read a piece, and I think it might be appropriate here to say that Parveen Rahman got killed in this city. And you know what? She wouldn't have changed anything. She wouldn't have gone anywhere else. You think she didn't know the danger she was in for mapping goats and letting the people know that this was their property, that this was their land, that Bahria town was trying to take away from them? You think she didn't realize the danger she was in?
Or
Absolutely.
Sabine Mahmood,
Sabine
I would like to
Mahmood,
say, because these are
she came and
daughters of Karachi.
She
who
set
have
up
been-
T2F, and I think we do a real disservice if we say who owns Karachi and who does anything for it. And you know what? There's so many more women. I'm not even naming them. There's all of the women who ran Newsline, which closed in 2019, Razia Bhatti, and all the authors and journalists that she created, who went out into the city every day and documented it and really shone a light on what was wrong and what was right, and brought up all the issues. It's an amazing thing, an amazing thing. So I would be more hopeful than that, yeah.
Yeah, I think hope is very important.
No,
Yeah,
and
I
you've
think-
got all these projects like the Indus Hospital, and you've got the OPP, and you've got lots of, there's a lot of very, very good projects.
Yes.
And they're award-winning projects. The only thing is it hasn't gone into the government as such. But on an individual level, on the basis of the city and the people, a lot of people are very committed to it and wanting to do a great deal. So from that, it's a kind of balance.
It's one of the most amazing cities in terms of its philanthropy
Yes.
and charity,
Absolutely.
right? No one goes hungry, or very few people go hungry in this city. It's amazing. Again, I live in one of the wealthiest cities on the planet, and the homelessness And the hunger is outrageous because people, I don't think, care the way that people in Karachi care. I don't think we would be able to tolerate that kind of hunger.
Okay. Yes, please. The black shirt.
Hello and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Should I stand up? Okay. My question is for the entire panel. It's kind of building off what you're saying. Karachi is often described, Karachiites rather, are often described as being resilient. But how do we, or how should writers draw that line between celebrating the city and fetishizing its daily struggles? Because I do see that tendency as well, especially in a lot of visual media, where people's encounters with infrastructure collapse are romanticized, as opposed to, you know.
What an interesting question. Zain?
People's encounters with infrastructure collapse is a great phrase. I completely see where you're coming from. I have both watched and read, and this has also happened while teaching when I'm reading student stories, that there seems to be this romanticization, this fetishization, as you said, of grittiness, of resilience, of things aren't working out, but we're so strong, we're gonna do. I think the question that you maybe need to ask is, do you need to be, why should you need to be resilient in those situations that they end up describing? So I completely agree. I don't know where to draw the line, obviously, but I think if you are someone who is from Karachi and you have lived here most of your life or all of your life, you are probably better suited to not exoticizing it. And this is the same, I think, for writers writing about things they don't know. I think that those are the things you end up romanticizing the most. Like if I was writing about, I don't know, the refugee crisis or something, like I would romanticize that a lot more because I am not intimately familiar with it. I would only be going off of things I'd read or things I'd seen, similarly exoticized things, similarly romanticized things. So that's what I would end up writing about. So I think, I don't know how to avoid it, but I feel like if the writers that I've read that are kind of Karachi, they are better at avoiding that romanticization. But I think when people from the outside looking in try to write about Karachi, or people who've kind of lived in a very, very specific bubble all their lives try to write about Karachi, it's the, oh my God, look at these people, there's no electricity and they got a generator or something. I was like, that doesn't need to be something that you need to be resilient for. You should have electricity. That is a basic right. So yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have electricity.
But you don't have electricity.
So then what do? Do you sit back and say, oh, but no, I also have a problem with the word resilient. This is the Karachi. But they are Jugaadi. They know how to find a solution to everything, right? They just do a Jugaad in everything because you have to move forward. For example, Karachi and Pakistan is being celebrated for being one of the, the cutting edge of highest creators of solar panels and consumers of solar energy. It's not because we want to, it's because we need to, right? So the needs are such and people find a solution. That is pretty amazing. And I'm sorry if that sounds like exoticizing or romanticizing, but that's just a fact. And there's no harm in saying that, and writing about it and celebrating it. I think the dominant narrative of the last 3 decades has been so detrimental to the psyche and mentality of our people that kind of traumatizing dominant narrative that is not coming from within, it is coming from without. And we are not all negative. There's a lot of positive going on as well, for whatever reason, whether it's because of the need to survive. We have to shine a light on that as well, right?
So,
Because that's
we have the mic at the back with a lady. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a comment, if I may.
Could you just stand up and...
So I'm a
we can-
Zoroastrian from Karachi, and since you talked about Zoroastrians, and I just want to say we are archiving oral histories of our community. At the moment, in fact, I'm trying to do it with a couple of people, so that should be of interest. And the other thing I just wanted to say to the question of who owns Karachi, I cannot agree more with Kamala, because the people of Karachi, I have a very small charity that I do, and I'm a Zoroastrian, not a Muslim, but the number of people who give me their zakat and tell me that, go ahead and do something for the city, and the number of people who come to us and help you, it is unbelievable. And I don't think anywhere in the world would so many people come together. Yes, maybe no government owns Karachi, but the people of Karachi absolutely own and love their city, and they do a lot for it. And there's not anyone I know who hasn't done something for the city, honestly. Every single person in some way does something for the city. It's very rare to find someone who doesn't.
And the basis for that, it's people like Jamshed Nasrwanji, who had put in such a humanist element into this city's ethos. The Parsi community and its humanist leaning towards kindness and humanity and doing things for other people. Look around you, we are saying what's been written by minorities. Look at the buildings and the names on them. Look at the roads and the names on them. There it is. There's the story of Karachi. It's all about the Parsis who've made this city a very human city, and whatever is happening in this city, which is soft and kind and humane, is building on that tradition. No doubt about it in my mind.
So we are almost at the end of the session. Yes, we can take one more question. Mike, please. यहाँ से किसी का हाथ नजर आया था मुझे.
Assalamu alaikum ji, my name is Ghazala and I also live abroad. I just had a simple question, like the lady over there was mentioning, and that we have a lot of negativity in ourselves. But the thing is this, that at the same time, yes, I agree with her that we shouldn't be negative about most of the things, but we have to be realistic too. And when we roam around in the city, I'm not talking about a particular area like Clifton or Defense or PCHS or, all these areas where sort of middle class live. But if you just move away from these areas to those areas where mostly the lower stature people live, you see the structure of the city crumbling. Believe me, it looks like a Mohenjo-daro or something like that. The roads are so bad. The gutters they're just bubbling up. There is so much to be done. We can't keep our eyes closed on that. And so, there has to be somebody who has to, raise a voice against it, because those people, obviously, they can't raise their voices.
Right.
So, I'm talking on their behalf.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't live here. I don't.
Thank you.
But I do visit these areas because some of my relatives live there, and I really pity their
agree
condition.
that we have a lot of problems, and but I think we still need to read a lot and observe a lot, and maybe enhance our understanding and our comfort level with the city. So Maniza Shamsie, Zain Saeed, Maniza Naqvi, and to all of us Karachiites here, thank you very much.
Thank you.